Hello, welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Open Series in Columbus. I'm Nick Miller, alongside Rudy Briksza. How you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Just locked myself for top 8 here, theoretically.
Yep, 7-0 with this red, white, blue pile, as Patrick Sullivan likes to call it. But it's basically a Jeskai Stoneblade build.
Right.
But you've got a lot of neat little tweaks in here. You got a couple main deck Pyroblasts, which is starting to become a normal thing for a lot of decks. Talk about how you came to this configuration. We've seen these types of Stoneblade decks before.
So for a while, I was trying to figure out. I've been testing a lot for GP New Jersey, which is coming up next week, and
Star City Games.
Right. It's gonna be great. The last time I played in a Legacy GP, I did really well. So I wanted to do really well again. Okay. So I've been putting my nose to the grind and testing. And the one thing that I came to is Dig Through Time is great in a pseudo control deck. Treasure Cruise can be great. Stoneforge Mystic never stopped being good, and Jace has gotten even better.
How did Jace get better?
So the thing is everybody's really lowered the floor with Treasure Cruise, and when you're playing stuff like Jitte and Batterskull and Stoneforge Mystic and a bunch of plows, and I even have Lightning Bolt in the second Pyroblast, you can mop up a lot of that stuff. And mid to late game, when you play a Jace just completely takes over the game. There are way too many situations I've played today where Jace has just been by far the best card in my deck.
Yeah, a lot of people have been saying with the Blue-Red Delver deck, they only have so many threats. Yeah. And when you have all of the answers, any threat you land just will take over the game.
Yep.
So you've got 2 Dig Through Time and 1 Treasure Cruise as the new inclusions.
Sure. The main difference is, and Treasure Cruise I've been kind of testing out. I wanted to see how good the difference would be from Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise in a style of deck like this. Right. Dig Through Time has been great so far. I haven't drawn Treasure Cruise.
All right.
So I'm not sure how good it is, but most likely it should probably just be the third Dig Through Time.
Right. People will bring up in decks like this where you're not just trying to find threats and bolts
you're not
or
trying
whatever.
To refuel.
You actually just want to find specific cards as opposed to just a bulk of cards.
Yep. I got to play against Joe Bernal earlier, who's on a very similar deck.
Right.
And one of the reasons that I was really able to take over that game and beat him is because I had Dig Through Time in my deck, and he just has Treasure Cruise.
Right.
So he just was drawing 3 cards, and I was drawing threats that I needed to beat him.
All right. So your creature suite. Stoneforge Mystic, obviously you've got Batterskull and Jitte in your deck, but you've also got some Vanillion Clicks and some True Name Nemesis. How'd you come to the numbers on 2, and then 1 Snapcaster?
So obviously when you're playing Stoneforge, it's kind of like an all-in thing if you're having Jitte 2. If you are not having Jitte just Batterskull, I think 2 Stoneforge Mystic is fine. But when you're playing more creatures, you kind of want Jitte 2 alongside your Batterskull. Originally, the deck had 3 True Names, 1 Snap, 1 Click.
Okay.
However, thinking a lot through everything is I thought people were going to be jamming Combo, because Combo can be really good against Blue-Red Delver, especially the faster combo decks like Sneak and Show, which has 4 Pyroclasms post-board, or Storm, and Click is just so good against those, and it's also good against decks like Deathblade. Like we saw Ben Clancy win a couple weeks ago with the Deathblade style deck, and Click is just one of the best cards you can have in the mirror. So I figured since we're playing cards like Dig Through Time to kind of find our pieces, it's okay to skimp a little bit on the amount of True Names we have, especially since we have bolts and plows to clean up.
One thing missing from the deck, you're not running Ponder like a lot of the decks that also run Brainstorm. How'd you come to that conclusion?
So you have to kind of make a choice. You either get to play a bunch of removal spells or you get to play a bunch of draw spells. I elected to play Council's Judgment and 3 Bolts as opposed to playing 4 Ponders. And so far it's been really good for me. Bolt's been really good. I got to play against Junk earlier today. Bolt was great there. Getting rid of Death Threat Shaman against Bug Delver, it's great because you could just clean up their threats and hold your plows for their Goyfs, which are the only thing that, kind of really matters as far as plow goes in that deck. Bolt's just great against everything else.
Yeah, I noticed earlier in the day, your opponent mentioned how he didn't realize what deck you were on. When you see the cards in the deck in action, you could think, oh, it's a Jeskai Delver deck. He boarded as if you had Delver, you never have a Delver.
Right, so. Yeah, he just didn't see Stoneforge Mystic at all in games 1 or 2 and just put me on some sort of blue-eye-red control deck like Sans, Counterbalance, and Miracles. And because all I showed him in game 1 and 2 was just Dig Through Times, Jaces, and some Clicks and a Snapcaster. So I mean, it's very reasonable to play this deck in such a way that you're not because you're not really a Stoneforge deck.
Right.
You're really a blue-eye. You're really just like some sort of Jeskai control deck, and you also just happen to have just the best cards in here, which includes Stoneforge.
Right. With all the cards, you can represent all kinds of different strategies. So you also got a couple just regular old counterspell.
Yep.
As well as a couple spell pierce, as well as your force wills for your disruption.
Right, so. Because people are kind of lowering to the ground, spell pierce gets a lot better because everyone's just using all their mana every turn, and they're trying to fill up their graveyard, and spell pierce kind of helps keep them down. Counterspell is just great mid to late game because you can just use it to counter whatever you want, and it's better than holding up 5 mana for force will. It allows you to do things like play click or play tune and still keep up a counterspell.
One thing interesting is you've got a bunch of basic lands in the deck, which a lot of these 3-color decks have kind of skimped on, but it's important because you got a couple Blood Moons in the sideboard.
Right. I figured a lot of people would potentially be trying a lot of different decks, and a lot of different decks are really weak to Blood Moon. Like Junk's really weak to Blood Moon, Bug's really weak to Blood Moon. So you have all these different decks that Blood Moon just flat out colds them. So it's just a good inclusion to have, and decks like Deathblade can't beat it, Blue-Red Delver can't beat it. Like you don't want Blood Moon against a deck like Blue-Red Delver, but against all the other Delvers, Blood Moon is just lights out.
Now a new inclusion from Commander, 2 copies of Containment Priest. I saw you put this to work last round against Brad Nelson running Sneak and Show.
Right. I also got to use it against Joe Bernal because it's also just a flash threat. Okay. Like sometimes you kind of can just use it when you're playing a lot of control mirrors, just having a flash threat like Containment Priest or Snapcaster Mage or Click can just let you hold up all your mana and react to what they're doing. But Containment Priest has been great. I got to board it in against Goblins earlier today, and that was just fantastic. And just like it does so much work. It's great against Elves. It's great against Dredge, which we saw win recently.
Last week.
Just last week. So you have all these. You have this. Great answers. That means you can kind of skimp a little bit on like certain amounts of hate because this is just a broad definition of just a hate card, which is what you really want in Legacy. You want a very broad answer to a lot of different decks.
And last up, you got a couple. The Firewalker, Core Firewalker.
So Core Firewalker is just like a throwback to the past. Core Firewalker used to be in the sideboard of just regular blue-white Stoneblade for burn matchups. And, we just played in standard all the time. Just fantastic against burn. There's so many decks. Like, Blue-Red Delver can just not beat that card. You just play it on 2, and they're like, well, I can never attack you again or bolt it. And the best part is you have stuff like Pyroclasm in your sideboard, so you get to Core Firewalker and just Pyroclasm them.
That is a combo, my friend.
Right. The other creature I have in my sideboard that's really pulled its weight and has been surprised me really well is Baneslayer Angel. So Baneslayer...
Reduke approved.
Yeah, Reduke approved Baneslayer Angel. He played it in his sideboard of his Miracles deck for a while. I know a lot of people played it, and it's just great because with the exception of a deck like Stoneblade or Blue-Red Delver that has Plow, there's really no answer to Baneslayer Angel. And I got to play it on Goblins on 5. I'm just like, turn 5, Baneslayer, and he's like... Oh. He's just like looking at the Tuk-Tuk Scrapper in his hand going, I thought you were going to play Batterskull. And I'm like, nope, kill you with Baneslayer.
Much harder to deal with.
Yep, Blue-Red Delver can't beat it. And the life gain is just incredible. Just the ability to gain life and really set yourself back into a game or put yourself far out of reach is just really what you need against the Blue-Red Delver deck since it has such a high output of damage.
All right. Well, Rudy, the deck looks sweet. With all luck, you can double draw into the top 8, so we'll be seeing more of this deck in the elimination rounds.
Hopefully. This is my 4th Legacy Open top 8, so we're hoping for a win this time.
All right, well, congratulations. Hopefully you get there with no problems, and we'll like to watch you some more tonight.
Awesome. Can't wait.
For all the action at the StarCityGames.com Open Series here in Columbus, stay tuned.